This Christmas, you're gonna make French onion potato casserole. Why? Because it's right in front of me and I'm gonna take you through each step so you know how easy it is to get those caramelized onions, to get all the flavor in these potatoes with the skin on, so it's even easier mashed potatoes, to make a beautiful potato bake for your holiday table. Let's go. Merry Christmas. If you are from the Midwest, you know a potato casserole. It's what brings the party together if you're gonna have a big occasion meal. And so for this Christmas, I'm making a French onion potato bake or potato casserole, which really what we have to start with is potatoes. No, we are not starting with box mixed potatoes. We are starting with real russet potatoes because I want the flavor and I want the good potato. Now I'm gonna make it easy. We're not peeling them, we're scrubbing them. Now a couple I did peel because they were turning green, so I peeled off that green, but otherwise I'm just taking these russet potatoes and I am slicing them. You can see in like, half-inch size pieces. You want them to be somewhat even just so they bake evenly. And the reason, and you can see I have other recipes for this too, I'm leaving the peel is because once it is smashed with all this goodness and mashed together, you know no different. And honestly, I am someone that always, if I can, will keep a peel on something, whether it's winter squash, zucchini, whatever it is, because there's nutrients in that peel. There's fiber in that peel. Why get rid of it? And these aren't mashed potatoes, this is a potato bake, so we can do it. So I have the potatoes right in here, and what I'm gonna do is add water, and we're gonna let these come to a boil, turn them to a simmer, and just cover them until they're cooked. But while that's happening, since we're making this French onion, we're gonna get the onions ready. Now, when I say French onion, I'm not meaning a traditional French dish. I'm saying if you're from America, you know we love what? French onion dip. The French onion in that sense, which is gonna be caramelized onion is what we're gonna need to start with. To get that deep kind of sweet onion flavor, we need them to cook down in some butter, which if you're gonna make a good homemade French onion dip, no, not the packet, the actual homemade stuff, this is the same way you would need to do it. So I thinly slice some onion up, and it looks like a lot, but it really cooks down almost to nothing. So you need to start with a lot of onion. So what I have here, you can see, is some butter that's just been melting. And what I wanna do is add all of this onion right to it. So we're gonna put this right in here, and we need to cook it low and slow enough. I'll turn it down here a bit, just so it begins to slowly caramelize. And this is a long process. You have to be patient with this. But what I will do is add some salt to this. It brings out the moisture. Excess water in them helps it break down even quicker. While I'm at it, I am gonna salt my potatoes that are still coming up to a boil, because it just is a good step to season everything as you go. So we're gonna let these slowly saute down, just slowly wilt down to this dark, beautiful caramelized texture. The potatoes are done, and I just drained them, obviously. Let some of that steam here escape. Over here on the stove, the onions, I'm gonna show you, they're still caramelizing. They're not done yet. This is a patient process. So I wanna let them sit here just a little bit longer, keep getting darker. What it does is it slowly extracts the sugars after it cooks off some of the excess liquid in onions, cooks it down until it caramelizes. So it's a long process, but you want that process. So as the steam is escaping, what I wanna do is just take an old-fashioned potato masher and go in and start mashing these best I can. Now, I'm not using a mixer here, I'm just using a masher because it's such a simple process. But what I like to do is get them as mashed as possible before I add in all the, what we're gonna call the good stuff. It's the stuff you use around the holidays for those special occasion things. It's not like an every night potato. So I'm just gonna go through, mash them as much as I can, then we'll start adding in. I have them mostly mashed. Now, I once had someone tell me, lumps in homemade mashed potatoes let you know what? That they're real potatoes. Don't worry about that. I mean, we're having the texture from the skins anyway, which I think is kind of nice to add color and texture. If you don't, you can peel them, but I wouldn't. So what I'm doing here is finishing it up, and now we can start adding in all the extra components that make a potato casserole something special. So we're gonna start with some cream cheese. It's room temperature, obviously. Cream cheese is also really good because it makes this kind of the convergence of a French onion dip, because French onion dip would have cream cheese in it, and a potato casserole. We're gonna add in some sour cream. Yeah, you can understand why these are being made around the holidays and not just a Monday night. Now, if you need something special, do it on a Monday night. We're gonna add in some warm, this is hot to the touch, whole milk. We're gonna add those right in there. We're gonna add in some black pepper, super important to me in any potato. A little bit more salt, and then some Parmesan cheese, which I grated some, but I needed some more. And so we're going to take here the grater, and we're gonna put in a little bit more, and yes, this is an extra big hunk of it. Around the holidays, I like to get a big hunk of it and just use it best I can. And it's just fun to have a big hunk because you can use it in so many things. I'm gonna add in about half of this Monterey Jack cheese. The rest will go on top. Monterey Jack is just like a nice cheese that will add in the flavor. And that's the beginning of these perfect potatoes. And now that everything's in there, I'm just gonna take the masher again and just keep mashing it up to bring all this together. So we're melting in that cream cheese. We have the cheese that's gonna slowly melt into it. And don't forget, we haven't even added one of the best parts, which is those caramelized onions that I can smell and we're just about ready to finish up on. But we're gonna put this all together, finish up the onions here, and we're just about done. Now, with those potatoes mixed up, you can see my onions. I mean, they have now darkened both from the caramelization and from just being on the stove. So we're gonna add in a couple components here. I really wanna bring out and pronounce that caramelized flavor. Some Worcestershire sauce. We're gonna add that right in. It's gonna sizzle. We're gonna add in some chopped garlic. I don't want it to do it when it was on the stove because I didn't want it to get more burned. So I just want it to really get warmed through in this. I'm gonna just stir that around, and that you can see that sauce is actually bringing up a little bit of those darkened bits, which is what I want. And instantly, if you guys were here, it's like an umami bomb. With umami is that sense of like that depth of flavor that you just can't get from other things. And what I love is you get the garlic. That sauce really brings it out. The caramelized onions. And so now, on its own, just by here, it'd be really strong. But when you add it into these potatoes, which just add all that in, all that flavor, all that goodness, this is where these become French onion potatoes. So what I'm gonna do now is just stir those in. There's no reason to have to mash them in. I'm gonna take a spatula, because we're now at the point where we're gonna put them together and put them in a casserole dish. So when we're stirring in those onions, look how they just mix in. Is that not a beautiful thing? It's like you're taking a couple of your favorite things and making something even better. So we're stirring them together so we really get them mixed in throughout. Isn't that beautiful? I love the textures and I love that the skins kind of play with those onions and just all kind of works together. So I have a buttered baking dish back here. And this point, you could put this in the fridge and then wait to bake it for a day before so you could have this ready to go and it can then be fresh from the oven. But what I'm gonna do is pour all this right in here and you can see how beautiful mixed it is. And I like the textures. I like that you see some color in there. It's just not bland potatoes. And you can try to tell yourself you're getting extra fiber with the skins. You know, around the holidays, any little extra bit can make a difference. And we're just gonna spread those out into an even layer. I buttered the dish just so it wouldn't stick as bad, and butter to me adds more flavor to this than a baking spray would. And we're gonna then just pop these in the oven. Before we do that, you can see here. Now remember, if you would put these in the fridge at this point, when you go to put them in the oven, it's gonna take longer because they're gonna be cold. I would let them sit out before you bake them at room temperature for probably an hour to warm up slightly. And then I would bake them. But this now, it's a thing of beauty. And you can eat them right now as is. I just like to warm them up through just because adding some of those things cools them down, but then also put a little bit of cheese on top. By the way, if you haven't been to the Midwest, this is your welcome to the Midwest with a potato casserole. I'm just telling you, it's good. And I do always freshly grate my cheese. I don't like that pre-shredded stuff. I think it has a weird, I don't like something they put with it that has a weird kind of texture to it. Sawdusty, sometimes a little grainy. So I just like to take that hunk of cheese and shred it right on top. So now I will put it all around, make sure it's even, and we are gonna put these right into the oven, then we're gonna eat. I put it out of the oven. Now you can see that I like to let the cheese get a little bit browned on top. You don't have to, I just think it's nice. And then we put on some chives because, you know, a little bit of green. When you're having something that's kind of potatoes, it's nice to have some green, isn't it? It just breaks it up and it makes it look fancy. And that's what the holidays are about. So now we can just enjoy them. Obviously this serves a nice dose. So like when my family's all over, this is what we're gonna eat. So you get those caramelized potatoes. Look how it's like a mashed potato in there. I mean, that to me is a glorious thing. And you get the cheese on top. It smells amazing, if I do say so myself. It's good. There's nothing bad to say. What I like is they're creamy, like a mashed potato. You can get the hits of just little bits of that caramelized onion that Worcestershire brings it out even more and adds more flavor. And then really what you do is you get all those other elements, the creamy, the tangy with the cream cheese and the sour cream. It just comes together for a great potato bake. It's great for the holidays. It's great for Christmas. It's great really for any time you want to celebrate and have this on the table for something special. And you can make it ahead, bake it before, so it makes it even easier. As always, share this video around if you're inspired or excited, because someone else might be too. Helps me, it helps them, helps all of us realize good food, you're able to make it at home. Check my website, wiseguide.com for this recipe and all my others. Until next time, Merry Christmas.